All right. Hey, live from Rockhound Sports Studios, it is Legal Tampering NFL Day. We're going to be getting into some free agency talk this morning. A lot of action over this weekend, man. What a wild and crazy weekend. There was some thoughts that there may not be any free agents left for Brad Holmes to do something with today, but I don't think that we're out of it just yet. There's plenty of options left for the Detroitlions. Obviously, there's plenty of reactions to be seen and heard. A lot of people had a lot to say about releasing Za'Darius Smith in place of Marcus Davenport, but I think we have a little bit more information now that the dust has settled. We're going to talk about it when we get back in 30 seconds or less.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering YOOPERLITES, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from YOOPERLITES.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for YOOPERLITES with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit YOOPERLITES.com for all your UV flashlight needs with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from YOOPERLITES.com. Every day, thousands of people.
All right. Hey, good morning, Eric. How are you this morning?
Absolutely fantastic.
Just like every day.
Weather's going to be really fun today. It's supposed to be mid 40s, and that means all the trees are going to start getting buds, and eventually we'll get some leaves and stuff up here, but we still got about 200 inches of snow to melt. So come on, sunshine, let's get it done.
Yeah, speaking of buds, man, we need some free agency buds. We need something to start fruiting here in Detroit. There's been a lot of conversation this weekend. I mean, before we even get into the sheet, there's a lot that happened. I mean, I guess when I've never seen a free agency period this crazy. It's been a while, at least, to see this many transactions go on before, the actual free agency period begins on Wednesday. I mean, legal tampering starts. We're going to hear a lot of crap today. There's going to be a lot of rumors. I got a late one last night, which we'll talk about. He's on the thumb, but there's a story to it. And what was your thoughts over the weekend, man? Just seeing all this wild and craziness going on for everybody but the Lions.
Well, listen, I want to call it overreaction weekend, because Lions fans are just overreacting about everything that happened. Why aren't we doing anything? Why are we sitting still? Well, you want to know what? It's the same exact thing that the Packer fans are saying, that the Viking fans are saying, that the Bears fans are saying. And listen, I don't think a lot of people understand exactly how this works. So anyone who was cut from a contract, so they're released from their contract, they could be signed right away that day. Everyone else who's going to become a free agent on Wednesday, they cannot work on a contract until noon today. Noon today through Wednesday, they can work on a contract, but they can't sign it until Wednesday at 4 o'clock, I believe.
Yeah, so tampering opens up at really noon Eastern today.
Yes.
Is when it officially opens. But if anybody thinks for one moment that conversations haven't been had, people are on vacations. I mean, same thing that happened with Stafford 5 years ago with Sean McVay. There's a lot that has already happened. There's a lot that's probably already been decided. It just hasn't been shared with the smaller guys, even the midline guys, even the guys that are in Detroit all the time, in the room. Your bigger names, your Ian, Rappaports, your Garafolos, your Pelisseros, they kind of got an idea. Your Daniel Jeremiah's, they got an idea of what's about to happen, but they're sworn to, not releasing this stuff, right? Not burning it all down before these teams have an opportunity to actually release some information, which I'm not saying that they're doing anything illegal, but conversations have been had. They have, and it always happens. But no, we don't know who Brad has spoken to. There was just a name that popped up over the weekend, and we'll talk about him here in a little bit, but Sebastian Joseph Day. So the rumor I trust my source. This person's never led me astray. Every time that I've reported something and actually said it's a rumor that could come true, it's usually happened. Now, I'm not saying this one's going to come true, but the information is good. That if Brad can't secure a top flight, meaning mid-tier contract, top flight for him, defensive end or defensive tackle by Wednesday, that Sebastian Joseph Day could be an option. Now, I don't know if anything's happened in the last 12 hours. You know, I think I went to bed around 11, but I don't know if anything's happened since then. So we'll get into the transactions. We'll take a look at it all and see if anything has changed. But that is an individual that has a very low cap rate, and I think that benefits the Lions. He's a pretty good defensive tackle too. So I don't know a ton about him, but I'm not out on the guy yet. I did a little research, but I haven't watched any tape on the guy, so I couldn't tell you definitively how good of a tackle he's going to be in this system. So anything else you heard over the weekend?
Oh man, so much. It's just crazy. Lions fans losing their minds.
Well, that's a given. I mean, I think we've been losing our minds for a long time. It's we want it all. Forget the marshmallows. We want it now.
Yeah.
Right.
But everybody is like, they're running at the table to grab that marshmallow as fast as they can. They forgot all about, hey, you can have a whole bag tomorrow if you just leave that one on the table.
Yeah. So quick reminder, we always turn the ads off for you guys. Just step out, hit the like button real quick, get it up to 75. I know we have over 130 people in or something close to that right now. Hit the like button. We'll get the ads off like instantly. As soon as we get to 75 likes, we turn them off. That'll help us. YouTube doesn't like that we do it, and we pay about $6,000 a year to do that. So it's for your benefit. Or just buy YouTube Premium. One of the two, right?
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, I've had it for a while. I couldn't watch YouTube without it. So anyway, good morning to everybody. This is the best part of the season right now for Lions fans, for a lot of teams. Like we're getting to meet our new squad, right? This is when it starts. We've re-signed a few of our own free agents, some of the homegrown guys. Derrick Barnes got a nice contract, and Marcus Davenport got a contract. Wasn't a nice one. Matter of fact, is probably fitting. Now, where do you want to start? You want to start with the cuts and the signings?
No, let's start with the contracts.
You want to start with Barnes and Davenport?
Yeah, so let's start with those.
Get that one out of the way here real quick.
Yeah, let's put some minds at ease to start the day. Okay, so Marcus Davenport's contract came out yesterday, and the details came out from Aaron Wilson. So the Lions, it's a 1-year, $3.65 million deal for Marcus Davenport. The deal includes $1.65 million guaranteed, a $300,000 signing bonus, a salary of $1.35 million guaranteed, a $50,000 per game active roster bonus, and a $2 million sacks and playtime incentive. So for him to get up to $3.65 million, he has to hit sack and playtime incentives, and that is more than his base salary of $1.65 million. So this is basically a vet minimum with $2 million in incentives. So that's basically what this boils down to. There's not a whole lot of guaranteed money. The only guaranteed money is $1.35 million, and then another $300,000 for a signing bonus. So $1.65 million guaranteed. He won't even count against the cap. That will not be one of the top 51 contracts on this roster. So people that were losing their mind over Davenport, you can rest assured and be nice and easy. The only thing he's taking up as of right now is one of 90 spots.
I think it's one. We got to point back to the segment that you did a couple weeks back. You were really high on bringing Davenport back. Obviously, I've been a big supporter of Davenport from the very beginning. That I felt, had he not been injured intentionally, that he would have had a good season. You could see the effect that he was having on the other side. I mean, setting the edge. I don't think that there's a better edge setter. There's plenty of better edge rushers, but an edge setter I think that he's one of the best in the league. And he's had a bad run, right? Injuries have sucked for him. But this is exactly what we spoke about. It was an incentive-laden contract. It was, a cheap guarantee. It was a low base salary. And it's exactly what he got. A $2 million bonus for sacks and playtime is insane under a $5 million contract. So I think that Brad Holmes obviously not only won the respect of Davenport for him to even sign a contract like that. Who knows if, any other team would have offered him more, but I guarantee another team would have picked him up. You're not going to leave a former first-round pick, I think from 2018, off your roster, or at least not in for camp. He would have landed somewhere. And had he stayed healthy for this entire season and maybe landed in Green Bay or Chicago or Minnesota, it could have been a problem for us. I'm all in on Davenport. If he stays healthy this season, he's going to have a great season. I guarantee it. I know I don't like to do guarantees all the time, but this is a guy that I have faith in. Here's what I'll throw at everybody that melted down about this since last week. You remember the guy by the name of Emmanuel Moseley? How many of you, and I know who you are, were clamoring for bringing Moseley back? Not once, not twice, 3 times. A lady. No, I'm just kidding. He's clearly had too many injuries, too many issues. I never wanted Moseley to be back on this roster after the first injury. I didn't really want him after, he suffered the injury in San Francisco and then was rehabbing to come back. But it was a high risk, high reward type of a deal, but a low risk contract. Moseley got paid more than Davenport did in his first year. He never saw the field but 2 snaps. Davenport at least gave us a couple of games. And he still only had about a $3 million payday last year. So it's not like he's breaking the bank. And then this year, again, very, 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 very low cap incentive-laden contract fits. He is now the new Emmanuel Moseley contract for 2025. But he's not going to be the same result as Emmanuel Moseley. I think that he's going to have a good season. Let's talk about Za'Darius Smith.
Yeah. I'm trying to find where his contract went. I just had it up and now I can't find
Well, I know where you can go. You can go to Detroit Football Journal on Detroit Football Journal on Substack, and you'll be able to find the article there. Let me pull it up.
That's where I'm at, but I didn't see his.
Marcus Davenport, impact on the Detroit Lions here. So, let's see. Where's his contract info? I don't even know if I put it in here because it probably came.
There was a brand new thing about Derrick Barnes, and I can't find it.
Derrick Barnes, you want to talk about him first?
No, but
which one do you want, Barnes or Smith?
We'll do Za'Darius Smith first.
Okay.
Because people online are flabbergasted that Brad Holmes would dare cut and release Za'Darius Smith. They want to see Za'Darius Smith and Aiden Hutchinson together on the line, and they can't understand why in the world we would cut Za'Darius Smith. So I truly believe it's due to his contract and the dead cap years, the extensions that he had on his contract, because he had a really weird contract, didn't he?
Yes, I didn't realize how much was involved for his contract. And I mean, I thought that when, obviously I use Spotrac quite a bit, but it just wasn't laid out in a way that seemed to make sense. And now it makes sense now that we understand what happened. I'm sorry, when I roll to this, it's going to look funny. I'll fix it. Here we go. We'll get into the headlines. All right. So this is Detroit Football Journal. This is my works. I started writing again. Would appreciate it if you guys would subscribe. I'll get out a few articles a day. That's the goal. We're going to try to highlight them on the show. But talking about Za'Darius Smith here and the impact, of losing him. So the Lions traded a 5th-round pick and a 2026 6th-round pick to the Browns in exchange for Smith and a 2026 7th-round pick. So we won't even realize the pick that we're getting back from Smith until next season. So is this a Brad Holmes finally said F them picks moment? Because they're just a fifth and a sixth, right? But he gave up 2 picks to bring in Smith. He gave up a 3rd round pick to bring in Carlton Davis. And when we get to Carlton Davis, he's not coming back either. Anyway, so his contract, right? The decision was based primarily because of financial considerations. That's why they released Smith. It was nothing else other than that. It was the contract. It was kind of weird. He was set to receive almost $9 million in bonuses on the 3rd day of the new league year, which would have been this Saturday, or March 15th. Yeah, so I think that's Saturday, Friday or Saturday. Mm-hmm. This would have increased his salary to $11 million for 2025. Now, if the Lions had not re-signed him after 25, he still would have had another $5.24 million against the cap in 2026. So you're talking $16.25 million for one season, essentially, out of Za'Darius Smith. So while the Lions currently have favorable cap space, I'm right here, the potential financial burden of Smith's contract was too significant to ignore. By releasing him before the new league year begins, the Lions avoid incurring any dead money and clear $5.7 million from their books, allowing them to obviously pursue younger talent at the edge position. So it was a smart move. It was a very, very smart move, but we don't like it simply because we were expecting to see the Smith and Hutchinson show this year. Yeah, and I think that's why Lions fans are pissed. And then when you throw Davenport on top of it, I mean, that's just a cherry on top, right? You can see strawberry sundae just melting in Arizona heat right here. So I get it. I get it.
Ice cream.
Yeah. So that's the reason why he was released. Now there's more rumors about this too. That Za'Darius Smith may opt to come back.
Yep.
So it can still happen, right? He's a unrestricted free agent. Now on Wednesday, you could find out that Smith comes back for a $8 or $9 million deal. Then everybody will smooth out. I'm not so sure that happens. I mean, I'd love to see it happen. I'm just not so sure it does. I'm not so sure that another team doesn't want to pick him up.
Well, there's one thing I saw over the weekend last night, and I thought it was fake at first because I had seen this months ago after the Lions were knocked out of the playoffs. Za'Darius Smith actually had a championship ring with the Lions logo, and it says Smith and number 99. He actually had this big blinged out diamond championship ring made. Looks kind of like a Super Bowl ring. So I think he really wants to be here, and he really wants to run it back with the Detroit Lions. So don't be surprised if you see him back in the fold with the Detroit Lions sometime later this week.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. I mean, I've pointed it out a few times that last season, when you look at the rankings for edge rushers, obviously Aiden's a top 10. Smith was, I think, a top 22 or top 20. And Davenport was right at 31 or 32. So the Lions had 3 of the top 32 edge rushers on their roster last season. It just so happens they weren't all able to play together. So if you imagine for a moment, if you have 3, let's say now of the top 40 on your squad, there's not another team out there that has that. There isn't. You may not like Davenport because he's been inconsistent and he's had some injury issues, but this last injury was not his fault. Smith was a shocker, but less so, after we are done overreacting and we look at both contracts. Makes sense. Okay, we're not paying $16 million for Z. Like, that's a year's worth of potential Trey Hendrickson, for 1 year. Obviously kicking the can. He's going to get more than $17 million a year, $16 million a year, but it makes sense now. So the Lions obviously are still planning that Aiden Hutchinson's going to be just fine, and he's going to be the lead edge rusher on this team. Davenport, I guarantee you right now, is a high-grade backup, and the Lions are looking to add somebody through the draft. For sure through the draft. I'm still not out on the fact that they're trying to add an edge rusher over the next couple of days. That's the rumor last night. If it's not a mid-tier guy that they can still get, and there's still plenty available, then they're going to do whatever they can to bring a couple of guys in and hit the draft hard, which I'm good with either way. Like if we get a couple of really good rookies, if Brad does his thing in the draft and moves all over the place and gets us some earlier picks, we'll be just fine. We'll be just fine. Let's talk about Derrick Barnes.
Yeah.
So Jamien Sherwood was my number one target, but he's more of an inside linebacker in a 3-4 system. But after watching him play, after watching what I thought could translate to a 4-3 scheme, it didn't happen. I expected that the Jets were going to be hot to trot after him, and they were. Aaron Glenn has a great eye for talent. He clearly wasn't going to let Jamien Sherwood leave. Sherwood signed a mega deal. I had him projected, 3 years, at least $28 million. Well, that ended up being 3 years at like $45 million that Sherwood signed. So when you compare that contract to Derrick Barnes, $45 million, $25 million, it's not so bad. The difference is I think that Sherwood's ceiling is way higher than what Derrick Barnes is. If you're going to be mad about a contract, my personal take is Derrick Barnes. Now I like the dude. He's a great dude as far as his locker room character, everything that anyone's ever said about Derrick Barnes, nothing but the highest respect for. And I have nothing but the highest respect for him too. But when I look at athletes that are available at that kind of dollar range, Derrick wouldn't be the first one that I'm signing. There's other players that I would put over top of him, but this is a guy that's in the scheme, knows Kelvin, so there's something to that. What was your thoughts on the signing? And then let's break open the contract.
Well, this is another one. Injury happened last year, unfortunately, in the same game as the Davenport injury and just before the Hutch injury. So, listen, Barnes was coming off the end on that playoff run where he was absolutely amazing in the Tampa game. He sealed the game for us with his first interception ever, ran off the field, won us the game, right? Highest of highs. Then he comes in, thinks he's going to have this amazing season. We're thinking we're going to have finally a decent linebacking crew. And we get 2 games in, and in our third game, he goes down with MCL, PCL, I believe, and had to have surgery, get it fixed, and he's still on the mend. A little bit of bad luck, but I think that Kelvin Shepard, seeing as he's been the linebackers coach for the last 4 years, he knows Derrick Barnes better than any other coach on the Detroit Lions. So him being our new defensive coordinator, he's going to know what he wants, and he's going to want players that he has history with and that he knows and that he can trust. And if that guy is the ultimate locker room guy, which I'm sure he is, and he knows his assignments, maybe he's not the most gifted athlete in the world, but he goes where he's supposed to go and does his job the way he's supposed to do, and he doesn't do someone else's job out on the field. Well, that's the kind of guy that Kelvin Shepard wants back in the fold. So I believe that's what this signing was. This is a old reliable, not
old reliable. I like it. He's old. He's youngin', but he's old reliable. I love it.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that who was the offensive lineman for the Rams that he Witt. He
on the cut block, the low cut block.
No, Witt. He's the
Big Witt.
Yeah,
what about
for the
him?
Rams. Yeah, well, he works for what is it, NBC or whatever now.
Mm-hmm.
And did you know that back in the day, he had a football camp, and one of his kids in the camp was Derrick Barnes.
Mm-hmm.
And Derrick Barnes, after the playoff game, went up to him and was like, "Hey, Witt," he's like, "I know you're not going to remember me, but I was in your football camp when I was in 8th grade or whatever." And he's like, "You told me back then that I could make it to the NFL, and I just wanted you to know that I did it, that I made it." And I thought that was pretty awesome.
It is. It's a cool story. Let me do something real quick here.
Yeah.
Hold on one sec.
Yeah, Andrew Whitworth.
All right, so hey, welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show. I see we got a bunch of people in this morning. I want to thank you for joining us this morning. Just do us one quick favor. If you could subscribe to the channel, we're giving away mini helmets every 100 subscribers. We just hit another milestone this morning, so we've got a mini helmet that's going to go out to somebody later on today. You guys hit the likes, so we're going to get ads turned off for you. Appreciate you guys joining us. Please check out Detroit Football Journal on Substack, where you'll see some breaking news and articles daily. Let's get into transactions here. We'll talk a little bit more about Derrick Barnes. Let's get this screen fixed first. There we go.
Yeah, so
where did you go? Now you're off the screen. What happened?
I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll fix that in just a second. So, taking a look at Derrick Barnes' contract here. 2025, he's due a base salary of 1.17. You got a signing bonus. Looks to be about 6.5 million. So he's getting about 2.1 each year for the next few seasons. He's got a cap hit this year of 3.36 million. So very, very favorable deal for the Detroit Lions. Only 1.2% of the league cap rates. That's really affordable when it comes to good linebackers. If the Lions were to move off of him this year, it cost them $16 million. So that's not the plan. Next year, he does inflate a little bit. It's going to be his biggest year under contract at 7.5 million base, another 2.1 proration for his bonus, signing bonus. He's got a roster bonus of 510K, cap hit of 10.1 million, and a dead cap of 8 million. So the Lions' potential out is after 2026. So this essentially will lock up Derrick Barnes for the next 2 seasons. And then after that, all bets are off. That's just the way it works in the NFL. And I want to say, Eric, that's where the Detroit Lions, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell contracts start to run up is 27, 28 in that range. So if you look at what the Lions have been doing, I've noticed this, I'm sure others have as well. These contracts are starting to blend together. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, Lee McNeil, all these contracts are starting to blend to kind of end at the same time. Or very close to that. So that's either like a line in the sand that they can either draw and say, well, we tried, now we're moving off of those players. Then they're going to bring in more players. It also gives them a bunch of cap space, like 27, 28 to be able to bring in new players. But this is a very affordable contract. This is not out of the realm for a good linebacker that is still, I think he still has a high ceiling in front of him. He's just not the guy that I would have signed as a pure coverage outside linebacker at that kind of money. But it makes sense, and it doesn't mean that the Lions can't go young here in the draft. It doesn't mean that we can't find a really good rookie that can now relax a little bit in the first year. Obviously, they're going to want to win a starting spot, but relax a little bit and not have to worry. We've got Alex, Jack, and Derrick. I think that is a great start for our linebacker group. It's still essentially the same as last year. So on the weaker end, I think when you look across the league, is definitely not up to Minnesota's standard of last year. Different scheme, but I think we're on our way. You add a rookie to this group, in the first or second round. I think that this group is going to be transformative over the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, and listen, Brad likes to really, I think each year focus on a certain group. Like last year, it was the corners. He took 2 cornerbacks in free agency, and then he doubled down and took 2 in the first and second round of the draft. So, I mean, he took 4 corners last year and completely transformed that room. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him do that. Maybe not this year with the linebackers, but maybe next year. And I would not be surprised at all to see another free agent linebacker come in and at least one get drafted this year.
Yeah, so this linebacker group, in the very beginning, months ago, I thought was going to be a little bit deeper than what it is. It's not as deep as I thought. You can still find some really good options, later on in day 2. But I think after day 2, you're really limited on good quality starting caliber linebackers, or at least linebackers that could potentially start or be game ready this season. So that's where I think Brad's going to probably invest more into defensive tackle and defensive end and probably another corner in this draft early. I think those are the 3 top positions. And don't be surprised if a wide receiver's, thrown in there. I'm still thinking that he might add a wide receiver early. Just depends on what happens with Tim Patrick. And even if he brings in Tim Patrick back, it doesn't mean that he's not going to add another, X style of receiver, someone to get out there and body up these guys on the boundary. All right, let's kick it back to weekend notes. A lot of recap here of cuts and signings.
My God,
what a crazy disaster of news.
Well, yeah. So Myles Garrett gets the contract of a lifetime. He gets an extension for 4 years, and that is for $160 million. So much for wanting to get his ring and not go from Cleveland to the Hall of Fame, like he was saying. Money talks, and you know what walks. The Cleveland Browns have locked up Myles Garrett for the long run. And that was the biggest news of the weekend, in my opinion, because that affects how we try to re-sign and get a new contract done with Aiden Hutchinson in the future. Whether it happens, maybe it was about to happen this year, but now, put on the brakes.
Yeah, so let's walk down that landmine of a field for a minute, because the 200 people in here that are watching right now, you're not going to like this take, but let's have a conversation. That's what we like to do here, is we just have great conversation. Some takes you're going to love, some takes you're not going to like. It's okay. We all have our own independent opinions and views. If I am the armchair GM on a Monday morning and I'm looking at what just happened with Myles Garrett's contract, $40 million a year, and then I'm looking at Aiden Hutchinson coming back from an injury. Let's just say he completely blows the doors off at 25, comes back, lights out, has a great season. You paying this guy $40 million? That's assuming you don't extend him now, right? So are you paying him $40 million over the next 5 seasons? That's a hard pill to swallow when we can't even sign some mid-tier guys right now because we're up against it with all the other contracts that have been signed and all the other extensions, that have been handed out. Okay, let me walk it back. If you hold on Aiden right now and you do the 5th-year option, that's still a lot of money next year. You get fully guaranteed 25 and 26 out of the deal, which they're fully guaranteed anyway. That's still a ton of money, because then if he goes and he does blow the doors off, that is a $40 million deal that Aiden's probably going to get. Okay, so 3rd option. If you try to leverage Aiden Hutchinson right now, which I guarantee his agent's not going to let happen. Aiden's a smart dude. And you say, look, you're banged up. We don't even know if you're going to be the same player yet. Yeah, we've seen you practicing. You've been a gym rat here in Allen Park. You've been putting in the work. But on the field, it's different. We don't know if you're going to see ghosts the minute you line up against a tackle and you start to get nervous. That's real, right? I mean, the mental part of this is real for injuries. Again, let's just say that doesn't happen for Aiden. He's a pretty strong-willed dude. Do you try to leverage him right now and say, you know what, Aiden, if you sign now, we'll give you 30. We're not going 40 ever. Even if you have a great year, we can't do it. There's just no way. Then I know what people are going to say, well, Will, the salary cap's going to increase. It is. You're right. It may not go up 10% next year. Maybe it only goes up 7. But let's just say it goes up 10. And now you're working with, 300 and let's just call it 305K next year, or 305 million. Just because it went up 30 million doesn't mean you can afford to pay somebody 40 million APY. You still have you still have Branch, Laporta, Gibbs, Campbell. We haven't even spoken about Kirby Joseph in a little bit. He's still wanting a deal. How can you sign all 5 of those guys? That's $100 million a year right there, just with those 5 guys. And then if you were to throw another 40 on top of it with Aiden, 140, with 175 they handed out last year, you're over the cap with 10 guys. You don't have a team. So those are the real problems we're up against right now. So I would love to know in the comments below, what would you do if you were the GM you're sitting in Brad's office and you're looking at this Myles Garrett deal, excuse me. And you're looking at Aiden, a guy that you want to be a core piece of this team forever. Are you having second thoughts now? Because it's a ton of money. And what happens if the Lions grab an edge rusher this season in the draft and he turns out to be just as good? This is where roster roulette helps. Now, if you haven't joined before, please subscribe today. Roster roulette is a term that I coined a couple of years ago when speaking of how you fill the funnel, keep that hopper full with up-and-coming talent, but utilizing the rookie contracts to do that. So Aiden's due for a big one. You need a top-tier defensive end coming out of this rookie class in 2025. That helps to keep that contract low when you average it all together if Aiden does get a max deal. That's what I'm expecting. What are your thoughts, Eric? Well, what would you do?
Yeah. So listen, if I am the GM, I'm going to take your question. I'm going to run with it. So let's say I am the GM. It's Eric now. It's not the Brad Holmes show. It's the Eric show. I got to figure out what to do with this contract, and I got to figure out what to do with all of this. I can't pay this guy $40 million. We're already paying $50 million for a quarterback. See, the Browns, they don't even have a quarterback. They're going to have a rookie on a rookie salary, so they can afford for the next 4 years to pay Myles Garrett $40 million a year. We can't do that. So,
Eric, you just stepped on a landmine, but I'll be back in a minute on that one.
So what I am going to do, since I'm the new GM, is I guess I'm going to run things my way, and I'm going to take the patience approach. I'm going to use my 5th-year option on Mr. Aiden Hutchinson. I'm going to make him play out his contract as it is for his rookie contract. And then if I have to, I'm going to tag him for not 1, but possibly 2 years. And we are going to have serious conversations, me and Aiden Hutchinson. And I'm going to tell him this is nothing personal. You are still going to make top of the line money. It's just I cannot do 40 million and keep the team together that we currently have constructed the way it's constructed with a $50 million quarterback and a $40 million edge rusher. I just can't do it. So for now, I have to use my 5th-year option on you. I'm going to make you play out your contract, and then we're going to tag you for 1, possibly 2 years. But just know, in the end, we're going to take care of you, and we're going to try to get you that big contract if we can make it happen.
Wow. Yeah, so here's the problem now, right? If you're talking about franchise tags, it's a super smart move because it's only like 20 million a year only, right?
Yeah.
It's about 20 million. I think it was projected this year, just over 19 million. I'm sorry, 21.3 million. So that is a smart move. Now, will Aiden sit? It's not Aiden wanting to. Remember, the damn agents are the ones that do this.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to force him to sit until he gets a contract. All right, so you stepped on a landmine. You mentioned the word QB and rookie in the same sentence.
Yep.
So the only way that this works by giving Aiden a max deal is Jared Goff will be no more. The Lions will have to either turn to Hendon Hooker or they will be drafting a rookie quarterback. Could be this year, because his contract will be $70 million next year. So you're going to get all of these Hendon Hooker lovers, all the people that hate Jared Goff or despise Jared Goff. They're hiding right now, a lot of them. They don't want to talk about it because he's proved everybody wrong. But, I mean, he proved me right, thankfully. I had faith in the guy. But, yeah, at some point, it's not that I don't want to see Jared Goff to be a big part of this team for the future. You're going to have to get younger and less expensive. So the only way I see it working is if they plan on extending Aiden Hutchinson to a max deal like that. Goff will be gone. And his contract is manageable right now for another team to take it in. Now, do I expect Goff to be gone this year? No. But in 2026, I think it is a reality that if the Lions don't take it the distance this year, Jared Goff will probably be moved off in the offseason. And look, it's not anything against him. It's just roster roulette, man. It's just how it works in the NFL. It's a business.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I kind of used the wrong word there, didn't I, Brandy, when I said hooker lovers? You know what I mean. Hendon Hooker. Yeah. Someone will clip that later. All right, ads are off. Congratulations to everybody this morning. I appreciate you guys. Always have, always will. You are the best part of this channel. Each and every day, we wake up to do this show. We wouldn't be doing it without you guys. So we started talking about transactions we got off on left field as we normally do.
Well, I just wanted to start off with the biggest ones because there's so many to list. We'd be here for 4 hours if we're going to sit and go through every one of these. So let's go through a few of the interesting ones. So after the Myles Garrett deal came down, Za'Darius Smith was cut from the Detroit Lions. And we went over that a little bit earlier. It's because of his contract, and he may be back as a Lion. You just watch. That's my call, is that he will be back by Wednesday as a Detroit Lion. And then the Minnesota Vikings did a little something yesterday that I was kind of surprised about. They brought back running back Aaron Jones on a 2-year, $20 million contract extension. I was flabbergasted because I didn't think Aaron Jones did all that great for the Minnesota Vikings last year.
It's a friendly deal, though, when you look at it. I mean, obviously, no one's going to get Saquon Barkley money, but at an average of $10 million a year, with a signing bonus of only $8 million, guaranteed 11, so about 60% guaranteed. Mm-hmm. This year's cap hit's only $6 million. I think that is I think that's a steal for Aaron Jones with what he's able to do. You beef up that offensive line this season, I think he'll have a much better year. Absolutely.
It's just, he was injured quite a bit last year. He came out of, I think, both games against the Lions. I don't think he made it the whole game, either one of those games. Just, I don't know. Former Packer doesn't sit well in my eyes. I thought it was kind of a funny deal that they brought him back.
All right. So I thought that this one was really unique here. I want to talk about Josh Allen for just a moment.
Oh, yeah.
So Josh Allen does the unthinkable. Now, I say it's only $50 million, but when you look at his deal, 6 years, $330 million for Josh Allen to re-sign and extend with the Buffalo Bills. Average of $55 million a season. Now, I couldn't tell if this was a full restructure or if it was an extension, because right now, looking at Spot Track, it does not make sense just yet, but I know not all the information's in here. So when you look at Josh Allen getting $55 million a year, man, I'm sure a lot of people are saying we way overpaid for Jared Goff. And look, it is what it is. I think that Josh Allen wants to win, and he knows that he's got to keep his contract manageable to do that. So as of right now, this is the old contract. There's a bunch of voided years in here. The new contract will be out soon, but we're expecting, like in 2025 here, he only has a cap hit of $44.7 million. Jared Goff's cap hit this year is right around $33 million. So we're still spending less than the Buffalo Bills. Where do you want to go to next? With
Josh Allen there, I think that's about as close to a hometown discount as you can get with a quarterback these days.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. Okay, now up next, Harold Landry. He ended up signing a 3-year, $43.5 million contract with the New England Patriots. And why do you think that is? He came from the Tennessee Titans and went to the Patriots. His new head coach went from the Tennessee Titans and went to the Patriots. His new defensive coordinator went from the Titans to the Lions and now to the Patriots. So he has a lot of
connections.
Yep, a lot of connections with the new coaches up there in
New England.
So and
this is a deal, though, Eric, that I'm kind of mind boggled a little bit.
Yeah,
like
I thought
that for sure he was going to get more. But this is a guy that, I talked about a couple of weeks ago that I thought would make sense in Detroit only after he got cut. Mm-hmm. Now, he did get released. Obviously, that gave a team, an opportunity to work with him. This guy, to Brent Lighton's point, he's really good against the run. Not so great maybe in coverage. He does tend to get after the passer quite a bit. I think that this is a great move for the Patriots. Obviously, they're bringing in a familiar face that everybody knows. At $14.5 million, I thought that he was going to get a little bit more than that, but honestly, that's exactly why the Lions aren't signing players like that. It's just too much money. But when you look at, again, the Derrick Barnes deal, less than $9 million a year for Derrick Barnes, a guy like Harold Landry or Jamie and Sherwood, these guys are locking up 12, 14, $17 million deals. I think it's pretty safe to say that Brad Holmes is making some good moves so far, just not enough. Who do you want to go to next?
So next, let's go to a defensive tackle that we missed out on. Sheldon Rankins. He signed a 1-year deal for $7 million with the Houston Texans.
Yeah, this is probably a miss. But almond butts coming out today. Almond butts. So
yep.
He's going to Texas, right? So he's not going to have a whole lot for taxes coming out. It's probably for him, it made more sense to sign for a little bit less money going down there where you're going to save money in taxes. There's no employment tax or whatever down there. So at 2 years, what did he sign? 2 years, $24.5 million. Is that what he signed?
Just 1 year, 7.
No, I'm sorry. 1 year, $7 million. His previous one was 2 years over 24. That's a very cheap deal for Rankins. He's 30 years old, so he's still young enough. Former round 1, number 12 pick overall. I would have loved to have had Sheldon Rankins join this squad, bring him back in to work with DJ Reader. But it is what it is. It's great. It's a great signing for Houston.
Yeah, and then the other defensive tackle that I was kind of looking at was Devon Godchaux. And he was traded to New Orleans from New England for a 2026 7th round pick. 7th round pick for a defensive tackle. Who could start?
So he was traded from the Patriots to the Saints, yeah?
Yes.
So this is a crazy good deal. 7th round pick for a former 5th round pick. And they're bringing in a contract that is valued at base salary of $4 million in 2025, $6.5 million in 2026, total cap hit this year of $5 million, and then an out next year as he doesn't have any remaining guaranteed salary. So it's a 1-year rental. This is another big miss, I think, by Brad Holmes. There's got to be a reason why. There has to be a reason why. But I would have given up any one of our 7th round picks to just bring a guy in like this at $5 million. You can't, you can't shake a stick at that, man. You got to take a shot at some of these guys. If we look at his statistics over the last couple of seasons, last 4 seasons, he's played in every single game. He's averaged 650 snaps. You want to talk about someone that's consistent? This dude's consistent, right around 60% of the snaps. Now, he's not a big sack guy, right? But what he is a run stuffer. This is someone that's going to eat up double teams. He's someone that's going to eat up, the run game. To me, this would have been a perfect option to bring in to help out Aleem McNeil, while he's getting better. So what's next?
All right, so there's one more defensive guy I want to talk about on this list. Mr. Von Miller. So he was released by the Buffalo Bills, creating $8.397 million of cap space for the Buffalo Bills. And by all reports is after things get kicked off, he would like to return to the Bills on possibly a cheaper contract. But if another team, say the Detroit Lions, come a knocking, would you be interested in trying to sign Mr. Von Miller?
No way.
Okay.
I think he's too old, 35. He'll be 36 before the season starts. If it's a vet minimum deal, sure, but that's about it. He hasn't started a game in the last 2 seasons. He's averaged about 12.5 games played over the last 2 seasons. He's a 30% snap guy. Last year he did have very high production to snap rate. So his pass rush win rate was pretty good. 6 sacks on 279 snaps. That's really good. He only ended up with 17 tackles and 6 sacks on the season. He's still producing, but as an outside linebacker, I think that we need someone that's younger, right? Someone that can handle it. As a backup, yeah, it'd be great, but Von Miller doesn't want to be a backup. I think he's ring chasing right now. That's about it. And I'm not so sure that he would be a great fit, but that minimum, okay. Anything other than that, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. So we have a couple of wide receivers left on this list, and I left them to last because we've both written a little thing about each one. So why don't we start with Davante Adams? He signed a 2-year, $44 million contract with the Los Angeles Rams, and you had a little something about him.
Yeah, let me get Davante pulled up. All right, Davante, where's my sheet? So Davante Adams. Where is my sheet? 1 second. 1 second here. Okay, so talking about this move here for the Rams, it makes a lot of sense, right? They're getting rid of Cooper Kupp. They inked Matthew Stafford. They're trying to go all in. So this is a move for me that makes sense for Matthew Stafford to now have 2 very viable weapons on the outside of this offense, Davante Adams and Puka Nacua. Now, Puka Nacua has spent the last 2 years with Cooper Kupp as his running mate at wide receiver, but he'll have a new partner now, right? Davante Adams is headed to the Los Angeles Rams on a 2-year deal. Now, this deal, bringing the 3-time All-Pro back to the West Coast makes a lot of sense for the Rams. It's been a great offseason for Nacua, who also gets to keep his quarterback in Matthew Stafford. They obviously hit the ground running right away. But naturally, though, it's kind of funny. He had one thing on his mind, and that was Davante Adams' Taco Bell partnership, where he said, I'm going to need some of that. I'm going to need that plug for the Taco Bell partnership. I thought it was hilarious. But what's not hilarious is how this is going to affect the NFC.
Yeah.
The Rams are now instant contenders. They signed Tutu Atwell for a $10 million deal. They have Puka Nacua. Cooper Kupp is on the outs. Now Davante Adams slides in. I mean, they added a superstar, on top of another superstar here. Now, Adams is 32 years old. He hasn't had the greatest run the last few seasons, but he still has it. And that was evident last season when he did catch fire with Rodgers a little bit. You could see that he still has the ability to play at a high level. Now, he's getting $26 million guaranteed from the Rams over a couple of seasons. That's a pretty inexpensive price to pay. So I'm expecting a bigger year out of Adams. He caught 85 for 1,063 last season in 14 games, 8 touchdowns between the 2 teams that he was with. That's not a bad year. If you get over 1,000 yards out of Adams this year with Puka Nacua and this revamped offensive line that I'm expecting that the Rams are going to go hard after, the Rams are now instant contenders. So the only thing that I'm worried about here is how this affects the Detroit Lions. But this is a very cheap deal. Very, very cheap deal for the Rams. Who was your second guy?
All right. So up next, last night. So I go to sit down and eat my dinner, and I put my phone down for a couple of minutes. And as soon as I get back on my phone, I find out that DK Metcalf got his wish to be traded away from the Seattle Seahawks and will now join the Steelers on a new 5-year, $150 million contract with the Steelers upon joining them. The extension will include 4 new years. Oops, just lost my sheet for a second. And so it will include 4 new years and $132 million in new money and run through the 2029 season per the report. Metcalf had 1 year and $18 million remaining on his previous contract with the Seahawks. The deal was agreed upon days after Metcalf reportedly told the Seahawks that he wanted to be traded. So they've been sitting on this trade for a while. Metcalf has played his entire NFL career with the Seahawks after they selected him with the second round of the 2019 draft. He's made 2 Pro Bowls and was named second team All-Pro in 2020. At 27 years old, he remains one of the league's better receivers in his prime and will provide a significant upgrade to Pittsburgh's offense if they can find a quarterback.
Well, I think that the quarterback situation may become quite clear over the next 24 to 48 hours. I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers want to get Justin Fields wrapped up. I'm surprised that Davante Adams, or I'm sorry, not Davante Adams, but DK Metcalf is heading to the Steelers, first of all, when they don't have a quarterback. So something must be known.
Well,
something. And I'm thinking it's Sam, the man, Darnold. I think that's way more likely than Aaron Rodgers.
I was thinking that too, but then Bleacher Report put out this thing this morning. As soon as I woke up, first thing I saw, don't be surprised if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Steelers.
I don't think DK Metcalf would want any part of that.
No?
I mean, they're both divas, right? I mean, they both got problems, but I don't see that being a good fit for Mike Tomlin either. I can't imagine that Tomlin's a no BS kind of a coach, just like Aaron Glenn. That's exactly why Aaron Glenn said, nope, I'm going to nip it in the bud right now. I don't want you here.
Yeah.
I think Aaron Rodgers is a problem. I don't think that he's going to go to the Steelers. And if he does, this will be the first year that the Steelers don't win plus 500 games. I think it's Sam Darnold. I think that the fact that the Vikings have been teetering a little bit too much with Sam, they could have locked him up. They could have franchise tagged him. You could have given him a 3 for 120 type of deal. Would have made sense. But they do also have Danny Dimes in Minnesota still too, don't they?
Well, he's going to be a free agent starting. His contract tolls here. So at noon, everybody can start trying to get old Danny Dimes.
So they might keep Danny Dimes in Minnesota and try to get JJ McCarthy up and running. Sam Darnold hits the ground running himself and ends up in Pittsburgh. It's a great likelihood.
There's a few teams, I guess, that are interested in Daniel Jones.
Interesting.
I wouldn't think he'd have much of a market, but apparently so.
Who's that?
Daniel Jones.
Oh, he'll have a market. He's still a decent quarterback. You got to build the team around the guy. I mean, he's exactly like what happened with Sam Darnold. You just didn't put him in a position to win. If you don't set up your guys for success, they're not going to be successful.
Yep. The Lions are having a press conference for Derrick Barnes right now.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up. I'm just waiting for it to actually start.
Oh, okay.
Oh, looks like it started.
All right.
I don't know why it didn't just restart on its own. Here, let me try to get that pulled in here. We'll listen to it. If there's anything you want to add while I'm doing this, go for it.
Oh, I was going to go over. It's just kind of neat to look down and see, hey, I got something from the Detroit Lions. So I finally got my season ticket thing all figured out. Here in a couple of weeks, I'll get all my tickets transferred over to me, and I'm going to be in section 136, row 9. So I'll get one of those big 3 signs every week. I'm super happy and stoked about it. That's the section I've always wanted to sit in. Some of my friends, they didn't like sitting in that section so much. They didn't like people putting the signs up, but I'm a tall guy, so it doesn't bother me too much. And I love the view from the end zone. Some people don't. Some people want the TV view. I prefer the end zones. Derrick Barnes, here we go.
By thanking, Brad, Dan, and Sheila, my beautiful family, my beautiful wife. I wouldn't be here without, any of those guys. And thank God, this is a blessing for me. It's amazing to be able to be back here. I'm blessed to be back here. This is where I wanted to be. You know, when it came down to it, I was telling my agent, like, I wanted to go back home.
Eric, could you give me an audio check from your phone? Because I don't have my phone. I don't know where my phone is.
I want to be a part of it. So,
can you hear Derrick? Okay.
I just feel like there's unfinished work, unfinished business here to do. You know, we didn't make it as far as we wanted to last year, but, you know, years to come of great football and to get what we really want, and we all know what that is. And it's just, you know, my teammates, the coaches, the culture that we built here, from the training staff to the strength and conditioning staff to the people upstairs. I feel like everything is put together, and I don't think you can find it in other places. Like I said, again, we're building something great here, and I want to be a part of that. So,
never fails with the Lions audio.
Shep, you know, to see him go to that DC role, how impactful was that, and you wanting to be back here?
Oh man, it's amazing. But I mean, like you all know, like we seen that coming with him. Passionate about the game, love the players, care about the players. That's, you know, one of the most important things. And the best thing I love about him is how passionate he is about getting players better and putting them in the right position to be successful. And that was, you know, a big part of my decision of coming back to Detroit. He is a guy that anybody would want to play for. Him being a DC, you know, I'm pretty sure every guy here is going to buy into what he wants. And, you know, he's, like I say, super passionate about what he does. He loves the game. And why not want to go play for a coach like that? And, you know, he has those characteristics of Dan. You know, we see how Dan is on the field and the way he loves the players. And, you know, he can put his player hat on, when he wants to, when he needs to especially. And I think that Shep does the same thing. And I'm just surrounded by a good group of coaches, great group of guys. And, you know, there's no way I would want that anywhere else. So.
How you doing physically, one, and number two, where do you see the next progression of your game? Where do you want to grow?
I'm good. Physically, I'm good. My knee's good. I finally get after this free agency thing, I get to kind of, you know, take a deep breath and go out to Tampa and start training. As far as my game, I mean, we seen a little glance of what I was becoming, and for 3 weeks. And I just think there's a lot more to come. Knowledge of the game, even physically, I feel like I'm taking a step with that also, and kind of just playing a little bit more of a leadership role. You know, I'm kind of older now, going to year 5. It's crazy to think about, you know, young guys coming around. You know, you have, you know, young DBs and young players that's come around. They kind of help and guide them, because I know what it's like to come in and kind of feel like you don't know what's going on and kind of you get your feet wet a little bit, but. No, I would definitely say just the key things, just leadership and being the best player I can be and doing the thing that my coaches need me to do in order for us to get where we want to go. So.
You mentioned the leadership thing. Just how important is it, especially with Shep taking over, just to have Alex back at the wheel, you know, Jack at the mic, and you at the Sam, kind of that bridge, that linebacker part, that bridge there. How important is that kind of moving forward to have that aspect back?
It's like that makes me super excited. I mean, we all seen what the three of us on the field could do and what it looks like. And I'm just super excited to have that again. No, we had something great going before, obviously, all the injuries and stuff like that. And, no, it's just amazing to see the kind of the pieces and the bits of what Shep has, you know, ready for us when it comes to us three. He thinks highly of us, and the fact that we've been around him for multiple years, you know, it's kind of like, you know, we can go to him and be like, hey, I think this will work, or we're not feeling this, and he opens that up to us. So, you know, that's what makes me excited, that we can go to our coach and kind of give him ideas of what we think and continue that leadership with all three of us, because we are starting to become an older bunch now, which is great. Obviously, got a few young players, but the fact that we are starting to become veterans, it for sure helps our defense and our team. So.
How much pride do you take? You're the latest of that first draft class under Holmes and Campbell to get an extension. I mean, you talk about what's been built here. I mean, you were on the foundation of that. How much pride do you take in that group being the latest?
Oh man, it's really it's amazing to see how much Dan and Brad and them care about us. I know Brad mentions all the time, he really believes in his draft class and believe how he drafts and the guys he brings in. Like every guy that ever came in here, like we're all just driven the same way. And I take pride that, you know, they look at me as one of those type of guys, a guy that wants to come here and work and win and put his head down, whether it's good or bad, and continue to work. So I take a lot of pride in that for sure.
Eric, we kind of referenced it, but do you feel like you were playing the
best ball of your career last season, and what allowed you to kind of take that leap in the first 3 games?
I would just say putting everything together, putting all the pieces together, physically, mentally, and more comfortable. Like, the game just really slowed down for me, and it felt good to be out there, not super nervous, not worried about mistakes, and just going out there and playing ball. I feel like my best football is yet to come. I feel like even if I'd have played through this whole season, that this year coming up, it would have been another step of progress. But I'm just super excited, and I think that's another reason why they love me here is because just the steps I've taken every year, and I'll continue to do that. And so,
Derrick, with the timing of the injury, how fortunate do you feel to be able to still get this contract? Was there a feeling of wrong place, wrong time when it happened, and you knew you had this coming up?
As far as the injury itself, or I would say, I say things happen, and it makes me feel good once again that, in spite of my injury, and kind of in all that situation, I feel like they still had a lot of faith in me that I could be the player that they know I can be, and I give all the praise to them because it's amazing to see. Like, I honestly, I wouldn't say shocking to me because I think that I put enough work in and put enough film out there to show what I can be. But the fact that they had that faith in me, that to be able to pay me that amount of money coming off this injury is amazing to me. And it's emotional because I know, like a lot of people don't get this opportunity, especially come off of knee injuries. But the fact that, Dan and Brad and them put me in a position to be able to come out and have confidence in me so I can have confidence in myself means the world to me. So.
We spoke to Brad on different occasions, but just from a player perspective, they both said they feel like the Super Bowl window is still open for this team. How do you all feel, man, especially knowing so many guys was injured last year? Do you feel like that Super Bowl window is still open for the squad right now?
100%. I had never left, and I don't think we ever will leave. This is a winning program now. Like, we've changed things. Like I said, we built a culture where, honestly, probably going to the playoffs is not going to be enough for us. Like, and we need to be in the dance. And that's what it is. And anybody who ever think, that's why we let the outsiders think what they want to think, but we know who we are. We know we're capable of doing. And we do. That window is definitely still open. And I'm super excited to be a part of it. So.
Ties into that, but, you're back. Obviously, Marcus is back. There's a whole lot of starters back from last year. Whatever happens in free agency happens, I guess. But, some people have talked about, hey, it looks like the Lions are running it back. I mean, had you guys not had those injuries last year, we thought about what it might have looked like and just the concept of, hey, running it back with so many of the people that helped you get the this year. Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, you always think of what could happen, what should, like, things happen for a reason, I believe so. And I believe that was just like a wake-up call for us. And there's a lot of things that each and every one probably can improve of doing. But, man, the guys gave it their all last year. It was amazing to sit there and watch them just continue to fight. Injuries, not injuries, but we continue to be the same team. And didn't get how far we wanted to go, but we did. It was an amazing season last year. And I'm just super excited to see what this year brings, especially with all the guys healthy. And hopefully that injury thing doesn't happen again. But and I pray that it doesn't. But, man, I feel like when we're a healthy team that we're unstoppable. And I think that we can beat any team in this league, and we've proven that. So 100%. Definitely, let's run it back for sure. That's exactly what I said when I came back into the office to talk to Dan and Shep. I was like, let's run it back. So, yeah.
Derrick, you mentioned already a little bit the evolving schematic role, right? Like you spent more time on the front last year compared to maybe the previous years. There aren't a lot of linebackers that kind of have that ratio, that 2/3, 1/3 on ball, off ball. Do you foresee that kind of being the way you continue to be used here?
Yeah, I love it. To be able to move around and be able to be a huge key point to this defense means a lot to me. That means that the people upstairs and Shep and them have a lot of confidence in my ability and what I can do. I've done everything in college, done everything in NFL. It helps you see the field from a different perspective. Being on the line of scrimmage, being step back, being in coverage, pass rushing, doing all those things. That definitely helped my game when it comes to the IQ of the game and knowing what's going on around the field. Because I feel like as a player, and especially as a linebacker, if you know what's going on around the field, it only does nothing but elevate your game. So, like, I love it. I love being that piece, that move around piece on the field. So.
What class? When did you understand? Like, I know it was your rookie season coming in. That, like, this class is special. Though. Was it a specific thing that happened, or like, when did you realize as a player, like, these guys they built a little different in that class?
From the jump. I mean, just the way all of us compete. It was, I mean, we used to have conversations. I remember, it's funny you say that because me and Lane used to have conversations like, man, like, obviously we talked a little bit about second contracts and stuff, but we was like, man, it's going to take a long time to get to 4 years. But no, we always sort of said we're going to grind it out and be able to get to that point and be able to get blessed like this. Those group of guys are amazing, from Saint to Panay to like Iffy, Levi, Aleem, me, like Jamar, and I hope I'm not leaving nobody out. I said everybody right. No, just a great group of guys who like to compete, and we compete each and every year, and I just love it, man. I love how passionate we are about the game in each and every aspect of it. It's amazing to see, and the fact that, we could, I don't want to speak too soon, but the fact that we all can be back together and run it back again means a lot. And that just shows how much, Dan and Brad cares about our class, and how much I kind of feel like we were that stepping stone when they first got in here. Like, I mean, of course, we were their first draft class, so it's like it's building that culture together. It means a lot to us. So I'm super excited to see where it takes us. So.
What did you learn about yourself? I was going to say, what did you learn about yourself throughout going through the rehab process and the tough time with the injury?
I understand why Tom Brady didn't want to retire. I'll tell you that. Man, it really made me appreciate the game a lot more. Appreciate all the opportunities that I have and that are given to me, that's for sure, and definitely respecting the process. It was a lot of, at the beginning was a lot of doubt about myself. Am I going to be the same player? And, kind of just, spoke to a bunch of guys. Alex, I got a cousin that used to play in the NFL, and just like, how did you get over something like this? And obviously talking to Coach Pugh and kind of bringing my faith back into play. And it was just a crazy process, but it all ended up working out. I had a great support group. My wife was sitting there pushing me the whole time and telling me that everything's going to be great, and it is. And I'm cleared. My knee feels good. I feel good. I get to come back and play for the best city in the world. So, no, everything's great. And like I said, I learned a lot through that process, and it made me become a better man for sure.
I got a question. I love this fit. Obviously, I love it.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Voice some frustration in the snack room, in the linebacker room. Could that be a change this year now? Since you're from the back?
Malcolm Rodrigo will always be on snack duty from now on for that comment. But no, thanks for the question, Malcolm. I guess I'll be buying the snacks if that's what you're saying.
How about water? You're a big, we're water people here. What kind of water could we expect in that room?
Spring water, for sure. What's the water? Eternal water. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I don't know if I can say that. I don't want to shout any brands and get in trouble around here. So, appreciate you guys. Thank you. Yeah. I'm beyond. Please. OTAs.
Okay, right at the end there. Appreciate you guys all hanging with us to listen to Derrick Barnes. But right at the end there, he did say that he's going to be back at OTAs. He'll be ready to go for the season, which is good news. He feels good. Knee is good. Biggest thing about his press conference today is unfinished business. And I believe the same thing. Like, there's a lot of unfinished business here. Let me get my mic turned up. I had to turn it all down. It never fails with Detroit Lions audio department. So always issues over there, but I think we got it handled there. Yeah. All right, so let's walk through this. Number one, he said knee is good, unfinished business. That's what's bringing him back. Number two, despite the injury, he felt, obviously, the warmth of the room with Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, that he can still be the guy. So even though 3 weeks last year was not enough for him to show what he was about to be, he thinks that he showed enough, at least a glimpse of who he's about to be here in 2025. He also mentioned Calvin Shepard's willingness to listen and how that is a big reason why this team is able to come together and do the things that they are, that if they don't feel comfortable doing something, schematically, if they feel that there's something else there, they're allowed to talk about it. They're allowed to bring these things up, and Calvin Shepard's open-mindedness allows them to obviously make changes or adaptations to what they're doing. That's the same thing, Eric, that they've been saying, whether it was Ben Johnson or Dan Campbell or Aaron Glenn. It seems like the openness, right, of being able to, this is a two-way street. It's not just, my gospel to your ears, like we can talk about it. I think that is hands down the best thing you can do in an organization is an open door policy, number one. And number two, being able to talk through some things to make sure that it's working for all of the players, all of the individuals. So out of those three first key points, what'd you think?
Well, there was a phrase that he said that stuck with me like glue. Just making the playoffs every year and not winning a playoff game isn't good enough anymore.
Yeah, that was next.
It's not. It's just, I love it. He doesn't want to be the Steelers where they just make the damn playoffs every year. We need to win playoff games. And I like that the players are saying it's not good enough. You know, it does take more. And last year it took just a little bit more than what we had left in the tank. Injuries got us, the injury bug caught up to us. But you know what? We still should have won that damn game. If our coordinators would have had their heads in the game and, you know, let's not blitz the quarterback on every play and let's run the ball on 3rd and 1 from our own 17. And we might have a very, very different outlook on this last season.
Yeah, so I guess back to my question. I mean, what did you think about his statement about knee is good, unfinished business, despite the injury? Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes clearly thinks he can still be the guy, and then Shepard's willingness to listen.
Yeah, I loved it, man. You know, he's telling you right now, Shepard's ready to be the defensive coordinator, and he has been for a while. And Barnes has been here for his whole career, and you can tell he was bummed that he did not get to play last year. You can tell when he said that, you know, he knows what Brady feels like now, you know, Tom Brady, that he wanted to keep playing and keep playing, because once it's gone for good.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can tell he's super happy that he gets to come back and play again. He missed the game. He sees what he was missing out on.
So he also mentioned, you know, the people that don't believe in the Lions right now, that, you know, they're one track mind. They believe that they can be in the dance. They believe that they can win more than just a couple of playoff games. And to your point where he says, this is a winning program. The playoffs are not enough. And I believe that too. And I think that this team has been there, right? We've been in this situation. I hate to use the term window, right? I don't think a window really exists. Every year is a new season. Every year is a new opportunity. And you may have the best team in the world, but that doesn't mean that your window's open. You still have to go out and perform. For the Lions last season, we had one of the best teams fielded, wise, really deep. But then injuries happened, which he also, spoke to, that unfortunately with all the injuries, that obviously changed the momentum of the season in the postseason. Not necessarily during the season, but in the postseason. It was a much different story, but pretty much he's saying, look, F the haters here. We know what we have. We know what we can do. Either in or you're out. What do you think about that? And obviously, I would love to know in your comments below, are you in or are you out? Where are you at on just 2.5 hours away from tampering open before we know what Brad Holmes is going to do?
Hey, I'm in. I'm 1,000,000% in, and all these people that, I don't know. Sometimes it's almost hard to handle our own fan base, if that makes any sense.
No, it does make sense,
because and I think it is the reason is because they're not let in on the knowledge of everything that's going on. So I know that Brad and Dan are very forthcoming and very open and honest about what they're going to do and about what they're currently doing. But it still leaves a lot behind the curtain that people just don't have a clue what's going on. And when they see Howie Roseman plucking every free agent and making all these moves and doing all this stuff, salary cap be damned, they all think that the salary cap is fake and it's just ownership, and ownership is the reason that the Lions will never win. And I just don't understand that part of it.
I highlighted in one of my articles this weekend, matter of fact, it's called, of course I don't have it open. I already started writing my Barnes article. So it was highlighted something about big spenders, right? Big spenders in free agency don't always, doesn't always turn into success.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles from last year, they re-signed a ton of players. So it wasn't so much bringing in top free agents. Now they brought in Zach Bond, they brought in Saquon Barkley. Who else did they bring in? There was one other notable name. There was a higher contract value. Memory escapes me right now. But the point that I'm trying to make is about 85% of their signings last season in free agency were re-signings and making sure that their free agents were taken care of. Saquon Barkley obviously had a big moment last year, right? Huge season, big contributor for that team. But when you look at what that defense did, it was largely because of who they've drafted. And even though Howie is one of the best in the draft and free agency, I think it speaks more to the fact that they were in the middle tier of spending last year, about 16th, 10th, 16th, somewhere in that range. So they didn't outspend everybody. It was actually the teams that spent the most, they didn't do squat.
No.
They lose. That's been a consistent thing in the NFL, that just because you spend a lot of money in free agency does not equate to wins. It doesn't. You have to be smart, right? And I think that Brad Holmes has been extremely smart. We just ripped off 27 wins out of the last 2 seasons, regular season wins, without spending an ass load of dollars in free agency. I think that's good for something more than just a conversational piece. I think it speaks to Brad knows what he's doing. Lastly, on Derrick here, he says, and this was at the very end, and that was Malcolm Rodriguez that was talking about snacks and water, by the way, kind of give him a little bit. But he said this didn't want to speak too soon about all of us being back together. That's a nugget.
Yeah.
That's a nugget.
Talking about
what's that going to mean? Who's coming back? Huh. Derrick Barnes' chapter will be written here soon. And look, these Lions, I think we're poised for a good season. I think we're poised for a good free agency. I got a call during that, and that could resonate or translate to some more information about the Lions. I'm waiting on a second call. But there's some action this morning. There's some action this morning, but I can't speak too soon. All right, so what's up next on our list?
Oh, let's see. Where will Rodgers and Darnold land?
Yeah, we spoke about that a little bit. We were talking about Pittsburgh and Minnesota, issues. Pittsburgh, I don't think is there for Darnold. I'm sorry, Pittsburgh, I don't think is there for Rodgers, even though it's been talked about that he might fit. I think that's a grave mistake if he goes there. I guess what's your final thoughts on that whole scenario?
I think Darnold is going to go for more money than people think. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to go to wherever Darnold doesn't go. And I really think that Aaron Rodgers is probably going to end up going out to Seattle. And Darnold is probably going to pit Seattle and Pittsburgh against each other on who will pay him the most money. You might get a surprise team like the Titans or the Giants or someone else at the last second come in on the old Darnold sweepstakes. So
I'm still wondering if the Giants make any sense for Darnold. I think there's a possibility that you could bring him in. I mean, you're pretty much swapping a Danny Dimes contract, bringing in Sam Darnold for a few seasons, and then snag a rookie, later in this draft and probably another rookie next year. And that would allow New York to be a little bit more exciting in the beginning of the draft this year, as far as taking a playmaker, a defensive tackle, an offensive lineman, Abdul Carter if the Browns pass. I think that there's a possibility that he could end up in New York. I think it's a higher possibility that he ends up in Pittsburgh. Darnold, I'm speaking of. But beyond that, I just don't see other landing spots. Seattle's, yeah, maybe. I just don't know if they're going to want to. I don't know if they're going to want to get rid of Geno's contract and then bring another big contract back in for an aging quarterback. I think Seattle's probably on the trend of getting younger.
Yeah, but if they can't draft one, they're way down the draft board.
Well, they can still draft one. There's a lot of things that they can do yet.
I guess.
There's a lot of things they could do. I don't even know. Did they make trades with or did they just do cuts over the last few days? They traded Geno, right?
Traded Geno.
So what did they get in return for Geno?
Third round pick, and then they got a second round pick for DK Metcalf.
So there you
and
go.
Then they swapped 6th and 7th picks.
They got plenty of ammo to move forward. And there's a quarterback in the second round. So Seattle is now on my list. I'll have to do some digging today, but they're going to be on my list as far as trade bait with the Lions. Could be a trade partner, especially if they have an earlier second round pick that the Lions want. That might back them into the end of the first round to grab a quarterback. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's talk about Carlton Davis here for a moment, if you're ready.
Sure.
All right. So Carlton. News broke obviously last night and the past couple of days that Carlton Davis' prospective departure from Detroit is all but known at this point. Now, in a recent interview with The Athletic, Carlton Davis expressed skepticism about the team's intentions to retain his services this season. Now, he also highlights the expectations that he wants a more lucrative deal. This is the last mega deal or top tier deal that he's going to get, more than likely at, what is he, 29? He'll probably get a 3-year deal right around the $45-48 million range. And that's probably just a little bit too much for the Lions. And especially when you look at what the Lions are been trending to do, which is get younger, right? They want to get smarter. They want to get younger. They want to get less expensive and bring in rookies. Draft, develop, re-sign, rinse, repeat. Draft, develop, re-sign, rinse, repeat. That is the Brad Holmes blueprint. It has been since 2021. So the key points with Carlton Davis over the weekend, he's 28. I'm sorry, he's 20, not 29. But he really articulated his belief that the Lions will not make a competitive offer for him. It's expected. He's expecting 15 to 18 million. The average for a top tier corner right now in the top 15, 16 is anywhere between 13 and 19 million. So if you split the baby, you call it 15 million bucks. It's probably too rich for the Lions. I think the Lions are probably looking at a 1 or a 2 year deal for a vet to come in and help this roster out. And I think that's probably going to land in the $12 million range, which has also been speculated over the weekend, that the Lions are only looking to spend about $12 million on a vet corner this season. Is that $12 million over 2 years? Is that $12 million for 1 year? Is that $24 million for 2 years? We're probably going to find out in the next 72 hours, if not later today, what that could be. Now, Davis had a really good season last year, one of his best since the Super Bowl season. And he had, for instance, 13 games. Obviously missed the last several games due to the broken jaw. 2 interceptions, could have had more. 11 pass deflections, 2 forced fumbles, and 56 tackles. The guy was just all over the field, making play after play after play. The injury obviously is what hurt him. And I also feel that Brad made a mistake here. I think that when Brad brought Carlton in, he was probably more reserved, just like maybe I was when I said, look, the dude misses 23% of the games. He has an injury history. It's quite possible that it could happen again. And it did, but I mean, you can't, again, broken jaw, really. Didn't want to sign Carlton to an extension. There was talks that a second year could have been added to Carlton's deal last year. Carlton said he was open to it on the mic during his press conference, and then nothing happened. Brad said, probably not. Not right now. So it didn't happen. So now Carlton's walking, whereas the Lions could have probably had tacked on an extra 10 million, 12 million to that deal and would have had him this year. So these are I understand the questions that some Lions fans have, like, why didn't you? But you know what? What do I always say, Eric? The hindsight 2020 game is, it's funny.
It's tough.
Right? It's funny. Like we're all smart, when hindsight's 2020. But what about before that? Like, we're not all seekers here. We can't see the future. So anyway, what are your thoughts on Carlton Davis? I'd love to know your thoughts and your comments below on Carlton Davis. Do you want him back at $45 million over the next 3 seasons, or do you believe in the process that you bring in maybe a 2 year deal on another vet that's a lot less expensive and draft another rookie potentially this year.
Yeah, in my heart of hearts, I think Carlton's gone. He wants a paycheck, and that's just not going to happen in Detroit. Warren King in the chat here says $12 million won't get Byron Murphy, Travarius Ward, Paulson, Adebo, maybe. But you want to know who that might get? That might get Asante Samuel, and that's someone that I think we should keep our eye on as a veteran to come in here and help out this defense for 1 or 2 seasons. And maybe Brad will learn from his mistake of bringing someone in for just a 1-year contract. Maybe he will bring him in for 2 years so he can control him. But if he doesn't perform in the first year, there's an out in the second year.
So when we look at tiers of athletes, this is something that we always look at every year in free agency. If you were to weigh the tiers right now, The Athletic put something out that I feel is fairly accurate. I would say that there's probably more tier 1 athletes than what's being projected. But in tier 1 right now, you have Milton Williams, defensive tackle, Chris Godwin, wide receiver, and Josh Sweat as the edge rusher in tier 1. Tier 2, you got players like Sam Darnold, safety Justin Reed, cornerback Charvarius Ward, cornerback DJ Reed, linebacker Dre Greenlaw, edge rusher Khalil Mack, defensive tackle Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, wide receiver Stephon Diggs. But I'm not seeing a whole lot of other corners other than Carlton Davis listed as a second tier option, and then Javon Holland as a safety. So there's only 3 corners in the second tier market. So if we're talking money wise, yep, Charvarius Ward, DJ Reed, Carlton Davis are definitely going to be in that 15, 14, 16 mil range is what's being projected. Safety Talona Hufanga is a guy that I thought the Lions could have some interest in, but at that rate, no way. You're going to pay Kirby first. Now in tier 3, well, Za'Darius Smith was just added to the list, but there's Byron Murphy Jr. I think that's a great option for the Lions. Byron Murphy Jr. makes a lot of sense. There's also Rasul Douglas. So what's tier 3 money? You're probably talking anywhere between 10 and 13 million a season. Most likely a 2-year deal. Just happened moments ago. DJ Jones, defensive tackle, just agreed to a 3-year, $39 million deal with the Broncos. So then in tier 4, you have Paulson Adebo and Asante Samuel Jr. And I think that both of those guys, you could make a valid argument for either one. Obviously, Asante Samuel has some history with Brad Holmes. He's only 5'10", 180 pounds, soaking wet. He's a second-round pick out of 2021. He was very productive in coverage over the last 3 seasons, which is what I love to see. 6 interceptions, 35 pass breakups. He had a shoulder injury last season that limited him to 4 games. So he's a guy that's well rested. He's been away from football for almost a whole season now. He was battling some stinger issues. Now that's what concerns me with Asante is anytime you get a stinger, it's a neck injury. It could be a nerve-related injury. That's what they call a stinger, right? It's a nerve injury or nerve pain down the neck, in between the shoulder blades, going down the spine. That can happen again, right? Just the right hit, it can happen again, which could sideline him again for the whole season. So he had a shoulder injury, but he was more held out because of that stinger. He's a little bit undersized. He's not known to be a great tackler, which in my opinion, you've got to be a tackler in Detroit. Otherwise, he's been mostly healthy throughout his career. The uncertainty is the shoulder and the stinger. So as far as Asante Samuel making sense for Detroit, it might just because you might get him on a cheaper deal. But I don't think he's the vet that we're looking for to replace Carlton. I think that would be a major regression. That's just my take. Out of any of those players that I've mentioned, Eric, what do you think?
Well, I looked up Byron Murphy's market value, and it's over $20 million.
Yeah, I don't know how that makes any sense.
I don't either. And then you look up Asante Samuel Jr., it's only $11.5 million per season.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it from dollars and cents, and I'm thinking that's more of a player that might make sense for the Lions just because of the money. We do need a veteran, and we need someone that isn't going to break the bank. It would be really nice to get someone in the 11.5 million, per season for 2 years, with an option to cut bait next year if it doesn't work out. That's the kind of contract I would like to see from Brad Holmes on a corner, and then draft another one. And then, after a year or two, you have all drafted players or players that you've had in your system for a while.
So here's my thoughts. I already gave you my thoughts on Asante. The injury concern with the stinger in the shoulder concerns me. Yes, could you get a cheap deal potentially? Yeah, I think there's something that could be talked about there. But as far as a vet that's going to step in for Carlton Davis, I don't think they even compare. I think they're totally different stylistically, schematically. They're just totally different ball players. Byron Murphy makes more sense, but he did have his best career year last year, coming off his first Pro Bowl selection. He posted career best almost across the board, 6 interceptions, a passer rating at 80. He also played all over, lining up in outside in base sets and also in the slot and sub packages. He's still young. He's playing out a 2-year, $17.5 million deal. That's a kind of deal I would have loved to have seen in Detroit. $9 million a year on Byron Murphy. That's crazy good.
Yeah.
But the context is important here, right? So in a Brian Flores system or scheme, Murphy often played cover 2. So he had safety help, or he rotated within a complex coverage. So he always had someone around helping him out, making him a little bit of a trickier projection for the Lions and the scheme that we play, which is man. He may not do well in a man-on-man, style of a defense. 22% of his coverage snaps in 2024 were committed to man. So for that reason, I'm not spending $20 million a year on Byron Murphy if the Lions are going to stick to a heavy man presence on the defense, and he's only doing that a quarter of the time. To me, that wouldn't make sense. But then again, you've got to watch the tape on him. I can't say that I've watched the tape other than the 2 games from last season. And I will say this, his projected value at 22 mil, are you saying that he's better than Jair Alexander, AJ Terrell, Denzel Ward, Marlon Humphrey, Trevon Diggs, Marshawn Lattimore, Tyson Campbell, L'Jarius Sneed, Jalen Johnson, and then of course Carlton Davis? Is he better? That just doesn't make sense to me. How he would be one of the high, and Patrick Surtain at 24 million, Byron would end up being the 3rd highest paid corner in the league at 22 million. I think that there's a little bit of a reset here. I think that Byron Murphy's probably going to get that 16 to $15 million range. I think that's where he's going to end up.
Yeah.
Personally. That still doesn't mean he's a Lion, but I think that's where he'll end up.
Yeah. Now I would absolutely hate this move right here. Let's say that Jair Alexander gets cut by Green Bay, and Mr. Holmes decides, hey, I'm going to take a risk on a guy. I'm going to bring in one player on defense that maybe doesn't have the best attitude in the world. And we're going to bring him in from the Green Bay Packers, Mr. Jair Alexander. What do you think he would be worth bringing him in to the Lions? Because they don't have a market value on him since he's still under contract.
I mean, there's a market value, but it's not right. Saying that he's only worth 1.8 million is not even close.
No, but like he signed a 4-year, $84 million contract with Green Bay.
Right.
So that's he's doing 20.5 million a year right now under his current contract.
So he hasn't been released, right?
No, not yet.
And they're still looking for a trade?
Yeah, they're saying they're going to release him if they can't find a trade partner.
Okay, so if they do release him, I don't know why I can't do it. If they do, here we go. If they do release him, let's just say they do a post June 1 release on the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're going to save $38 million. Wow. And they'll have a dead cap of about 18 million between 25, 26, and 27. So they'll be able to spread that out over 25 and 26. But they will save about $38 million. So he'll get that money. That's a post-June 1. If they do a pre-June 1, yeah, there's no way they're gonna cut this guy before June 1. They would stand to lose over $34 million.
Whew.
And they would only save about 24 million. So definitely a post-June 1 here if they're gonna do it. Look, if you're willing to eat $17, $18 million over the next 3 seasons, I wouldn't say that that's a fit in Detroit.
No.
But they're also saving almost 40 million, so that makes sense. I'm not in on Jair Alexander. I think just what you said in the very beginning is enough for me to say no. He's got an attitude problem.
Yeah, and an injury problem.
Yeah, he's just a big attitude problem to me.
Yeah. Because we don't have a diva on our team and on offense or defense. I mean, J-Mo's as close as we get, but he doesn't have the, I don't know, the bad boy, I don't know, attitude. You know, J-Mo does some dumb stuff, but he doesn't have a bad attitude.
I think we have some divas, but they're just not outspoken divas. We know that Amon-Ra St. Brown's a diva. The dude loves to talk his trash.
Oh, yeah.
He loves it. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't, see, the thing is it doesn't spill onto the field where it causes drama.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he does it. He doesn't even really talk on the field from what we've heard and read. Like he just doesn't chat it up a whole lot. But when he does, he does. How about Rasul Douglas? He's 31. Definitely has that vet mentality. 6'2", 209 pounds. He hasn't been picked up yet, I don't believe.
Let's see. From Buffalo, I thought he got re-signed yesterday.
I don't know. You have to check the list. I don't think he did.
Maybe not. Nope, this is still saying that his market value is $11.9 million.
Yeah,
Isn't he a former Green Bay player? Yes. Yep.
Yeah, he played with the Packers, the Cardinals, the Texans, the Raiders, the Panthers, and the Eagles. He was drafted by the Eagles in 2017. Here's the deal with him. I have a valuation somewhere in the range of 4 to 8 million, not 11 or whatever you just said. Call it $7 million a year. It's 31. Statistically, last year he played in 15 games. He had games inactive 2, but he was healthy scratch. That can be a little concerning. Played in 75% of the defensive snaps. Plays a little bit on special teams. He ended up with 5 TFLs, 5 passes defensed, 1 forced fumble, no interception. I mean, he's still the guy that you could bring in. I don't know his overall, scores in that, as far as I definitely haven't watched any tape on the guy, but
yeah,
from a cheaper option, someone that you could bring in, he's definitely got starting caliber potential still. I don't know if there's any limitations with him right now. I would say that, being on 7 rosters in 8 seasons a little bit weird.
Yeah.
He's a gritty player. He's got a nose for the football. He does tend to get beaten for big plays, though, every now and then is what it's saying here. That was more often with the Bills in 24 than it ever was before with the Packers in 23. Now, he had at least 4 interceptions per season from 21 to 23. So maybe it's the Bills. Maybe it's the Bills defense, which was terrible last year too, right? Yeah. Maybe it's the Bills defense that just wasn't a good fit for him. I like Rasul as a cheaper option. Maybe we hear something today. I'll dig in after the show.
Yeah. Goff lit him up for 45 points.
I don't know how much he was on the field for. I'm gonna have to watch some tape today or something.
Yeah.
If there's any time. Okay. Next up, we were talking about Carlton Davis. I don't know if I ever finished this. So we were talking about, who potentially could come in place of Carlton Davis. We threw out names. You let us know in the comments below. Who do you want? I hear Darius Slay all the time. The guy's like 50 years old, and Look, he's still playing at a high level, you could say, but I think he had a lot of help last year. And I think that when you look at the situation that he was in, I'm not knocking the dude. I think he's a high level cerebral player. I think that he takes care of himself and his body, and I think he's a good locker room dude. I think he would absolutely benefit some of the younger guys on the roster as a vet. So from a vet presence, Slay does make sense. But from a contributor and a producer on the football field, I would probably say that he won't be our best corner. He might be our third best corner at the end of the day. If you can bring Slay in for under, $6-7 million a year, sure. Give it a rip for one season. But beyond that, I just don't know that it makes sense. If you could bring him in cheaper than that, if you could give him an incentive late in contract, just like you did with Davenport, which would kind of be a slap in the face to Slay, and say, look, we can afford to pay, $4 million this year, but beyond that, you got to earn it. I think that's an even better deal. And I don't know that any of these are possible. I'm just talking out of the left side of my mouth. So for Slay to come in, it's going to have to be highly effective towards the cap. And I do think that he would be a good vet in the locker room, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah. The last 2 years, he's restructured his contract. In 23, he ended up counting 6.2 against the cap. And then in 24, 5.2. So if we were able to get him for those numbers, sure, bring him back. And what a story that would be for Lions fans. Make everybody feel all warm and fuzzy again. And they can bust out their old Darius Slay jerseys.
All right. So did we already talk about the fact that a lot of Lions fans are losing faith on Brad Holmes? Did we start with that?
No, kind of, but we never got into it.
So let's get into that, and then I want to end. I don't know how much time you have today. I think you said you had to leave at some point.
Yeah,
but
I gotta be somewhere at 11. So
yeah. So I want to finish with the top 5 edge rushers. So let's get through Brad Holmes real quick. What are you thinking here?
All right. So have Detroit Lions fans lost faith in Mr. Brad Holmes, the 2-time back-to-back NFL GM of the year? Have we lost faith? I mean, it seems to be kind of widespread. So over the past week, the Detroit Lions of Brad Holmes have made some serious moves heading into free agency. In my opinion, Brad Holmes has a plan and he is sticking to it. Brad Holmes has every year told everyone exactly what he intends to do. Exactly. He has laid out the plan every single year. He says he's going to fill needs through free agency, and then it frees him up to take the best player available in the draft. So when Holmes re-signed the oft-injured Marcus Davenport and released a healthy Za'Darius Smith, Lions fans lost their collective minds on social media, throwing Brad directly under the bus. So I just want to take a look at a few comments, and I had to pick some of the more tame comments from social media. Brad is that guy at the dealership looking at the dented cars and asking the salesman how big of a discount he can get. And then the next one, Brad now has the smartest guy in the room syndrome, and it's hurting the team. If he does nothing, we will never make the Super Bowl. Hutch can't do it alone.
Hold on, let me pause real quick.
All right.
Hutch has never done it alone. Ever. Look, God, I could go off on Hutch right now, but I'm not going to. I'll leave it alone.
And then we got one last one. Our ticket prices have went up 40% 2 years in a row, but Brad can't spend more than $2 in free agency for a pass rusher. We will never win a Super Bowl if we don't make a move.
Okay, look, I'm sick of the Dollar General, the Family Dollar, Dollar General, Brad Holmes shopping at Kmart's blue light special. Be happy the dude's frugal, right? Be elated that the guy knows what he's doing with money and contracts, because consistently consistently. The teams that spend big in free agency don't win. It's a fact. When is the last time that the number one spender in free agency won a Super Bowl? Brad always says, I do not care about headlines in April and March. I would much more care about winning in January and February. And the only way that you can do that is by continually doing what he's been doing. Buy at the right price, right? It's like buying stock. You buy low, you sell high. You buy low, you reap all the rewards later. You know, you take a low risk, but there could be a high reward. If you take a high risk all the time, which I'm sorry, but you know, these guys in the NFL, they're worth a lot of money for what they did last year, right? You don't know what they're going to do this year. Last year was last year. Okay. So let's just be real right now for a moment. Jahmyr Gibbs had what, 20 touchdowns last year?
Yes.
Okay. Saquon Barkley had how many?
Not 20.
I don't remember the number. I think he had close to 20.
I think Jahmyr had 22, though.
He might have. Saquon had 15. Okay. Saquon just got a deal for $20 million a year. Jahmyr had 20 some odd TDs last year, and he's making not 20 million. Right. Yeah. What if Brad Wynn just said, you know what, Jahmyr, dude, you had a great season. I got to pay $1 million for every TD. And he's, I have to, man, you're worth it. What if the rest of his career, he doesn't give it 10 touchdowns every year? You're paying for what he did last year, when you should be paying for what they're going to do this year, what they're going to do in their future, right? Mm-hmm. The future has to be commensurate to that contract, not what they did last year. And I think that that's the trap that a lot of people get into, is they look at all these gaudy stats from last season, and this person's a free agent, and it's like, okay, we got to get this guy. I mean, yeah, he's worth $20 million a year, $30 million a year. Myles Garrett's been banging it every single season. Trey Hendrickson's been banging it every season. He's going to get $35, $40 million a year. What happens if he comes to our team and he only gets 8 sacks a season? What if he gets hurt for half the year? Well, then what? You didn't win. You lost, and you spent a shitload of money doing it in the process. Whereas you bring in some guys that are a little bit less risky, maybe some guys that are risky by money terms, right? A little bit less money going out. You're trying to reap the high reward, where you're bringing in rookies that you know you can coach and develop, that have a higher probability of a higher ceiling, very low risk, much higher reward. Yeah, do you need a couple of guys here and there? You do. But you don't need the most expensive free agents in the league. I think I'm going to make it a project. And I'm not even going to say what the project is, because someone will try to steal it. So I'm going to do a project over the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to prepare something for you guys that we'll be able to talk about at length when we talk about this situation right here. So Brad's doing what he's supposed to be doing, man. He's doing a great job.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not gobbling it all up, right? I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. You know that I can go the other direction if I need to. I can. But right now, I don't see any fault in what he's doing. I think he's doing the right job.
Yeah. And there's so much more going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. Like, we didn't know about all this stuff with Za'Darius Smith's contract. So fans, they're very, very fast to react. And it's the whole on social media, you know, everybody wants the clicks and everybody wants to comment on stuff. And sometimes they don't take a step back and look and see why they're making the moves that they're making. So to move on, let's talk about the top 5 free agent edge rushers who may or may not fit with the Detroit Lions. With the release of Za'Darius Smith, the Detroit Lions just may have their eyes set on a free agent option. Let's take a look at the top 5 edge rushers from this free agent class, plus 2 more that I think the Lions may target. First up is Mr. Josh Sweat from the Philadelphia Eagles. Sweat almost won the Super Bowl MVP. He had 2.5 sacks against the Chiefs and was one of the best players on the field that day. It wasn't a fluke either. Sweat had 33 sacks over the past 4 seasons. He'll be 28 years old next season. He also made a Pro Bowl in 2021, and he's going to get a huge contract. Josh Sweat had a big Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles. What do you think about Josh Sweat?
Yeah, so same thing that I said last week. I'm going to reiterate the same point. He won a Super Bowl. He's going to be grossly inflated for value. Don't do it. Run away from it. And quite honestly, he's not even the most productive defensive end out there. He's not. He's on a really good defensive line. He had a few sacks throughout the season, I think 8. Yeah, he did pull down 3 in the Super Bowl, but I think a lot of that is the culmination of that defensive front and what they had behind them in that secondary that allowed the quarterback to make some bad decisions, hold the ball a little bit longer than they should have. I mean, they won without blitzing. That tells you that everything on that defense was working in unison the way that it should be. So I'm out on Josh Sweat. There's no way. No way.
I am as well. His market value is $18.8 million. And I think he's probably going to end up getting even more than that because of what he did in the Super Bowl. And what happens with these Super Bowl players is when they become a free agent right after the Super Bowl, that's the thing that's in everyone's mind, right? Is this guy played out of his mind in the Super Bowl? We need him to get a Super Bowl. And then they get way overpaid and they don't do anything for their next team.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, they fall right off. So him, hard pass. What do you guys think in the chat? Would you guys like Josh Sweat or would you pass? Yes or no? Would you go after the guy? So up next, we have Malcolm Kuntz from the Las Vegas Raiders. If Kuntz was a free agent a year ago, he'd have been an easy player to invest in. But he suffered a torn ACL in practice just before the 2024 season opener, which complicates things just a little bit. Still, he'll be just 27 next season and posted 8 sacks in 2023. Some team will take the chance. Now, a lot of Detroit Lions fans think that Brad Holmes likes to take chances, right? On injured players. So maybe this guy would make sense. Now, his market value on Spotrac is way off. It says $20 million a year, and there's no way that can be correct. I would think he'd be one of the cheaper options in free agency. He's coming off of his rookie contract.
Which player are we talking about right now? Kuntz, right?
Malcolm Kuntz.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So my thing on Kuntz is simple. I think that this is a guy that you might be able to finagle some sort of a lower deal on just because of the injury.
Yep.
You know, so if you want to leverage the injury against him, that is a real opportunity here. Yeah. I know I highlighted him in an article that I did over the weekend, along with the other 5 or 6 guys. Matter of fact, let me go to that article because I did write a few things on him that I just can't remember right now. So Malcolm Kuntz, edge, obviously defensive end. I think that this is what I call the Brad Holmes special, right? A lot of people talk about Brad Holmes bringing in these injured players. I think that this is a 1-year, $13 million deal. I think Malcolm Kuntz has to be one of the most intriguing free agents for Brad Holmes at this point, only because he could have an incredibly competitive market or it could be underwhelming. It may not end up in the middle. It's either going to be all in or all out. Now, the reason being that Kuntz missed the 24 season was due to a knee injury, but in 23, he did record a career high 43 tackles, 8 sacks, and after recording just 12 tackles and 2 sacks the first 2 NFL seasons combined.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 6 of his 8 sacks in 23 came in the final 4 games of the season. So clearly, the guy was playing well into the end of the season in 2023, comes in at 24, bangs up his knee, ends up sitting out, the majority of the season. So to me, this is a guy that's at that risk but reward factor here. I don't think 13 million is too much to spend on this guy. You're talking probably a 6 million, guarantee, 5 million guarantee, incentive laden deal. He may want more than a year, but this is a contender deal because the Detroit Lions are contenders. And I think that Malcolm Kuntz may be interested in something like that. I don't have any inside information right now on Kuntz, but I'll just say my phone call earlier was pointing in the direction of a couple of guys.
All right. Up next, we have a very polarizing figure for many Detroit Lions fans, Khalil Mack. Mack considered retirement before playing again and will get at least one more nice payday. He is 34, but is still productive, having made his 9th Pro Bowl last season. His sack total went from 17 in 2023 to just 6 last season, but he's still a good player who will likely land in the Hall of Fame when he's done. Many of us remember him playing for the Bears. Now, his market cap is insane. They are saying $23.6 million is what he's worth.
Okay, repeat the name for me again.
Khalil Mack.
Yeah, so definitely not worth $23 million.
Nope.
Ain't no way. No way. Even a squirrel finds a nut some days, but he ain't finding that kind of money this year. And if he does, whoever paid him, good for you. Because it's not worth it. This guy's older than dirt. He's still producing at a high level. I get it. And he is. I mean, at 34, he'll be 30. Well, he is 34. So his birthday was in February. Market value 23.6, way inflated. Now he's being compared to Hassan Reddick, Joshua Hines Allen, Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt. Yeah, no. You can remove Joshua Hines Allen and TJ Watt off that list. And I would say that his market value is probably going to be in that $13 to $15 million range. I still would not pay it. I think that Khalil Mack is way on the other side of the age that can be beneficial for the Lions. Again, if it's a 1-year contender deal, Khalil Mack should just sit out the season. And he should just wait until, you figure out which teams are going to make the run, and then you join a squad. If I'm Khalil Mack, I'm not signing with somebody. I would sit out and wait. And then, the Lions could bring him in, towards the end of the season for $5-6 million to play for the rest of the year, especially for injury reasons. If you do suffer some injuries, you have to bring somebody in. Then I would bring him in, but not now. Rest up, take the season off. He's made a ton of money. That's what I would do if I'm Khalil Mack.
All right. And up next, a name you just mentioned, Hassan Reddick for the New York Jets. From 2020 to 2023, only 2 players posted double-digit sacks each of the 3 seasons. Hassan Reddick and Myles Garrett. That might be forgotten with all the drama in 2024, which included a trade to the Jets, a holdout that lasted into the season, and just 1 sack. Reddick will turn 31 years old in September, but should still have something left to offer. Now, this is one that is a little on the cheaper side. So his market value is $11.7 million.
Hassan Reddick?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I'm not in on him. I think that there's some very valuable things that Hassan Reddick has done in his career. I think that he is still playing at a high level. As an outside linebacker more so than anything, I think the Lions are good in that department. I mean, I don't feel like they're totally competent in that department, but I think they're good by just signing Derrick Barnes. They have Alex Anzalone, and they have Jack Campbell. I would love to see, another high-valued player like that, come in and be part of the depth in the rotation, but it's just too much money. Lower cap guy, sure, but I think it's just too much money for Brad right now.
Yep. And last on my list, Mr. Joey Bosa. So let me get over there. So Bosa is one of the bigger names on the list, but his age, he turns 30 in July, and injury history can't be ignored. A variety of injuries have limited him to 28 games and 14 sacks in the past 3 seasons. Still, he's a valuable player if he can stay healthy. Now, on Spotrac, there is no market value for him yet, which is really weird. And rumor is that the 49ers are trying to reunite him and his brother, Nick Bosa.
So Bosa never even made my top 6. And again, I think that this is a situation where he's probably going to look for a contender. I don't think that Joey needs to sign with anybody right away. I'd put him in the same breath as Khalil Mack. You just sit out, wait until you find a contender. Does Bosa really think that he's going to get a big deal with all of his injury issues and lack of production? I mean, he's still a really damn good football player. There's no doubt about it. But at 29, going to be 30 years old before the season starts. He's had nothing but issues over the last season or a couple of seasons. His stats have fallen way off. His production obviously has fallen way off. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't take the risk on Bosa. Only again, if everybody makes sense when they're inexpensive. So I'm not even going to continue to say that about everybody. Look, if you can get a great deal on them, sure. It's just like Davenport. If you get a great deal on a guy, of course you bring him in. There's only so many that can make the team anyway. You got 53 players at the end of August that are going to get signed and stay, in Detroit. Past that, I don't see, some of these guys sticking around on a vet squad or a practice squad. That's where the Lions are going to have to get really smart with which players they're bringing in. But to fill out the top 51 or the top 53, I just don't see where Bosa makes a lot of sense unless he's really inexpensive for the Lions. Mm-hmm. Let me give you a couple of names. So Azeez Ojulari is still available.
Yep.
He's big on my list. He's been on my list for months now. I projected a 3-year, $26 million deal for him, and that was before Jamie Sherwood locked up his deal. It was before Derrick Barnes locked up his deal. So now I'm thinking that that's probably closer to 3 years over $36 million for Azeez. He's probably going to get about $12 million a year. He set a Giants rookie record by notching 8 sacks in 21, but he recorded just 8 sacks over the next 2 seasons, and he played in 18 total games dealing with injuries. So could he get 3 years over 36? Probably. Does it make more sense to maybe get him on a 1-year cheaper deal? Sure. But I don't think that he's going to go for that. I don't think his agent's going to go for that. I think that there's still a lot of value on Azeez Ojulari, and I think that if you can get him at $8-9 million a year, you're winning. And that would really help out this defense in a big way. Joseph Ossai is another one that made my list. Defensive end, though. Projected 3-year, $18 million deal. Really inexpensive deal. We'll see what happens. I mean, the numbers are just getting more inflated as more guys get signed. But he totaled 46 tackles. He had 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 pass defensed across 17 games last season. It's pretty good production. And he also set new personal bests in tackles, sacks, and forced fumbles in a single season. He made the first 3 starts of his career from week 16 to 18 last year. He recorded 14 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 pass defense. So he's a player that's on the rise, right? He was a high rotational player before. Now he's kind of working himself into a better rotational player, possible starter. This is a guy that makes sense for me, especially at the rate that you might be able to get him. Real quick, Josh Uche, cheap deal, bring him in. Matthew Judon, cheap deal, bring him in. Other than that, I'm out. The last guy I want to talk about, who's on the thumbnail today, Sebastian Joseph Day. Oops. Former Tennessee Titans defensive tackle, excuse me. Last year, he had 44 tackles, 2.5 sacks. I mean, not a terrible year by any stretch of the word. Terrible. Looks like he played all 17 games, fairly healthy. 6 stuffs against the run. Cheap is what we're going with here. Cheap. Sebastian Joseph Day, in my opinion, is probably your 4th tier defensive tackle price-wise. What the rumor is right now from last night is if Brad Holmes cannot lock up one of these, 2nd or 3rd tier defensive ends, defensive tackles, like your Aziz Ojularis or your Malcolm Kuntz, that a guy like Sebastian Joseph Day could be added, maybe tomorrow. You'll hear more about it, or maybe on Wednesday. Could be one of the first guys added, but inexpensive. So fairly inexpensive. Let me get my sheet out real quick, and then we'll be done for the day.
Yeah, this says his market value is $4.5 million.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's for an edge rusher. Whew, that's
tackle,
or defensive tackle.
Yeah,
still a great deal.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in the league for a minute. He's 29 years old, so he's got great experience. He's 6'4", 310 pounds. Now, the Titans signed him early in 2024 offseason to kind of bolster the experience level and the versatility and the depth of this defensive front. Sounds exactly like what we need right now. We need versatility, and we need depth with the Lee McNeil. He's going to be out for the first part of the season, more than likely. Now, he enters, will be his 7th season, I believe, this year. He was a 6th-round pick from the Rams in 2018, so Brad has some connection there. And this popped up on the radar last night during a phone call, and then when I dug, I'm like, okay, this makes more sense. Now, he didn't see a lot of game action during his rookie campaign, but he appeared in 39 regular season games, 38 starts, 137 tackles, 6 sacks in 3 seasons between 19 and 21 with the Rams. He did join the Chargers in 22. He played in 30 regular season games, and then he went to San Francisco for the playoff push in 2023. So we did go head-to-head with Joseph Day in the NFC Championship game. Career highlights would be he's played in 7 career postseason contests, including 2 Super Bowls, and captured the Lombardi Trophy as a member of the Rams in 2021. To me, that sells me. Like, he has the experience, been there, done that attitude, knows what it takes to get there. He's played under McVay. He's played in the San Francisco 49ers system. So he's been well coached. Even at, $6-7 million, I think that he would be a great signing. I'm not so sure that his market value is accurate, but yeah, if it's 4.6 to 8-9 million a year, I don't know how you would walk away from that opportunity. I think it just makes a lot of sense for what the Lions need right now. He's not that guy that's going to pop off, the chart, right? He's not going to jump off the page at you, but he could be someone that's a sneaky good option for us that gives the Lions depth and exactly what they need headed into this season. So Warren King says, how does Joseph Day compare to Tyler Tart? We'll get into that a little bit later. I don't have anything pulled up on Tyler Tart, but I will note that, and when I come back a little bit later, we'll talk about it. So I know that Eric's got to run. So
yep,
appreciate you guys hanging out with us a little bit late today. To all of the people that joined, please do us a favor, hit the subscribe button real quick, smash the like button one more time on your way out, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning for sure with the Rise and Grind morning show. But there's going to be pop-ups all day, and like I said, we owe somebody a mini helmet. So during the one of these pop-ups today, someone's going to win a mini helmet when we have some breaking news. You guys have a wonderful day. Go Detroit Lions. Go on Pride. Until the next time, we'll see you later.